Although the United States stopped producing new nuclear weapons over 20 years ago in the aftermath of the Cold War, the nuclear weapons complex administered by the National Nuclear Security Administration is still a very active sector of the U.S. national security system. With no new weapons being built, existing weapons must be carefully maintained and tested to ensure that they remain safe, reliable, and secure, and continual research must be conducted to ensure that knowledge about nuclear arsenals remains as comprehensive and up-to-date as possible. The affirmative claims that America's plan to continue nuclear weapons research are unnecessary and proposes to reduce spending, reallocating this money within the military. The problem with that is that reducing spending in nuclear, a U.S. nuclear budget is necessary, so dang it. The U.S. will not save money by shrinking its nuclear arsenal. Thus, there won't be any money saved to reallocate it within the military sectors. So, according to Matthew Kroenig, author of Think Again, American Nuclear Disarmament, in 1989, the Energy Department shut down its only plutonium pit manufacturing plant at Rocky Flats, Colorado. Decommissioning and decontaminating the facility cost taxpayers $7 billion. In 2007, however, the department restored pit manufacturing capability at a cost of billions of dollars, and it is seeking billions more for a new facility. This poor decision teaches a broader lesson. It would be much more costly to cut now and build back up later rather than simply recapitalize current capabilities. It would only be by failing to fully modernize the systems that deliver the warheads, intercontinental ballistic missiles, bombers, and submarines that the United States could hope to save money. But unless it completely disarms or kills a leg of this triad, the country's aging missiles, bombers, and subs will need to be upgraded. Only if we think that the U.S. can maintain a diminished nuclear force indefinitely is it plausible to think that nuclear cuts will save money. But this would be an unwise bet given that the other countries are moving in the opposite direction. Decommissioning and decontaminating the facility cost taxpayers $7 billion. In 2007, however, the department restored pit manufacturing capability at a cost of billions of dollars and is seeking billions more for a new facility. The poor decision teaches a broader lesson. It would be much more costly to cut now and build back up later, rather than simply recapitalize current capabilities. So pretty much, if we cut nuclear research, then all of our nukes are slowly going to start to diminish because no one's going to be upkeeping them, researching new ways into keeping their life expectancy high. So there won't be any money saved because we're going to have to get rid of these nuclear weapons, or they're just going to have to be reinstated because other countries are still going to be a threat and still continue their research. So that brings me to the inherency argument that we need a strong budget to compete with other nations, which is why the budget for nuclear research is not being decreased. According to James Schlesinger, in addition to being a former defense secretary for Nixon and Ford, he is a former energy secretary and former director of Central Intelligence. He's been studying the U.S. nuclear posture since the 1960s. Mr. Schlesinger expresses concern about the safety and reliability of U.S. nuclear weapons, all of which are more than 20 years old. I'm worried about the reliability of the weapons as time passes, not this year, not next year, but as time passes and the stockpile ages. There is a worry, too, of the intellectual infrastructure, he says, as Americans who know how to make nuclear weapons either retire or die. And he notes that the physical infrastructure is now well over 60 years old. Some of it comes out of the Manhattan Project. It is important to continue this research funding to keep up with other nations in nuclear technologies. At this moment, India and Pakistan are engaged in the most intense nuclear arms race the world has seen since the Cold War. India needs nukes to deter China's superior conventional and nuclear threat to its northeast and to counter Pakistan's nuclear weapons to the northwest. New Delhi's nuclear arsenal has grown by more than 200% in the past decade and now includes an estimated 100 warheads. It is developing submarine-launched ballistic missiles and building longer-range ballistic missiles, and last year it ordered more than 100 nuclear capability aircraft from France. Also, according to the Pentagon, China is expanding its arsenal of warheads, building new nuclear-armed submarines, and developing next-generation road mobile ICBMs with multiple independently targeted reentry vehicle warheads. President Vladimir Putin has already poured cold water on Obama's proposal for additional nuclear reductions, and Russia's military doctrine emphasizes nuclear weapons, including their first use early in a crisis, to compensate for its weakened conventional military. So, as you can see, other countries that are not necessarily allies of the U.S. are still building up, well, not Russia, but still researching nuclear weapons, and some of them are still building them. So it's important to keep our nuclear arsenal strong and continue research in order to combat these and keep our allies safe. Decreasing funding to nuclear research, the research of nuclear weapons is necessary to keep our stockpile effective. Thus, decreasing funding to research will ultimately result in the threat of a nuclear terrorist attack on us or our allies. According to Jamie Crawford, in an article written by Jamie Crawford on CNN titled "The General Warns North Korea Missiles Pose Physical Threat," General Vincent Brooks, commander of U.S. Army Forces in Pacific, said on February 7, 2015 that North Korea's increased militarization, including the growing range and precision of its missile program, now represents a physical threat to the United States. Brooks said continued missile and nuclear tests by North Korea only serve to perpetrate a tense situation that could lead to a dangerous confrontation. That is not helpful, and it's only creating a greater potential for miscalculation, he warned. On top of that, according to the World's Nuclear Weapons Stockpile Report, 9 countries are known or widely considered to possess nuclear weapons. Some of these include China, Israel, North Korea, Pakistan, Russia, that are not allies with the UK, United States, and France, the other superpowers. It is estimated these 9 countries collectively hold over 17,300 nuclear warheads. And although the US and Russia possess approximately 94% of the world's nuclear weapons, with Russia, North Korea, and China increasing their nuclear spending, we must be very careful.
All right, I gotta cut you off. It's 7:40.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't looking at the time.